it's like, wow. Now when you see the money clocking in, when you get paid, it's like, that is all mine.
Not many people get to say that.
Exactly. When you come from the rural area where the situation really was the metros kind of students that come from fancy private school, they'll be speaking, asking questions with so much confidence and rolling even, and they scare you, making you feel like you don't know anything. But in actual fact, it's like, I had to learn to be a salesperson. After having qualified as a CA, I sold Tupperware, I sold Avon stuff because I wanted to get out of this comfort zone that says, I can't sell. The fact that the money might not be used the way that you're expecting it to be used, it still doesn't exempt you from paying tax. The fact that you are staying in a roadside where the potholes and all that are not being fixed doesn't exempt you from the tax requirement. You still have to pay your taxes.
Welcome to another edition of Mindset Profits. This is going to be one of those cool ones that I'm passionate about because we started this podcast to help primarily people who want to get into business or people who already are in business. There's a lot of resources that we're going to be bringing your way. And one of them is we want you to get your accounting right. We want you to get your finances right in your business. There's a lot of questions that small businesses have, and today I have a really, really smart accountant. I mean, if you go to your LinkedIn, you'll see how heavy that CV is. Miss Harriet Mabuza.
Wow. Hi.
Why, am I lying?
You're not lying. But I just, I'm not used to hearing it coming from someone like that. Yeah.
Is it?
Yeah.
No, it's quite impressive. But let's break it down. What's your academic background when it comes to accounting? How do we say your profile? I could say all the CA and stuff that I saw.
Yeah. Okay.
Goodness, I looked at your profile and thought, how long did it take you to get all those things?
And I said the same thing to you. You have the masters and the PhD. Why are you shocked?
Yeah, well.
Yeah.
Well, the PhD is not done. I am in the middle of it. I'm like halfway.
It's amazing.
So I guess there'll be someone saying cool things about me one day too.
Yes, soon.
But yeah, give us a breakdown of your profile.
Okay, so I'm Harriet Mabuza. I'm a chartered accountant by profession. I hold masters in taxation from the VAT University. I started studying at the University of KwaZulu-Natal after completing my matric in Mpumalanga. So I went there, I did my BCom accounting. The funny part is I didn't even know what I was doing.
Okay.
It was just, okay, I'm doing BCom accounting. After that, I'll get a job and that's the end of it. And people kept on talking about, qualifying, CA, this and that, but I didn't know that I was on the journey for being a CA. So I did my BCom accounting degree. When I finished, the entity that was paying for my fees had said I would get a job, with them when I finish. I called them, I'm done with the degree. Can I please have my job now? And they're like, oh no, we only give the jobs if there's something available, but there's nothing for now. So sorry. And then I just packed my bags. I went back to school. I did my honors in accounting. And then at that point, that's when my eyes started opening up that, oh, you can become a CA. By now you are doing your honors in accounting. You are close to the journey, And with God being on
was
my
money
side,
a part of that decision? Because when I remember at my time at varsity, when someone would say you could go the CA route, money was always there. It pays.
Yeah, but at that point, I recently lost my mother, so I didn't really care about the money that would come in the future with being a CA. I just wanted to work so I can take care of my siblings. I was the oldest at home, so the responsibility was on me, and we'd been sharing bursary money while I was finishing degree. All I couldn't wait to do was just start working, and all my problems were gone, So, but then not getting the job, and I went back to school, and I contacted a few. We had a lecturer who was normally helping people with bursaries. And I was like, oh, I'm doing CTA now. I don't have funds. Can you please figure it out? And then he made a few calls. He got me a bursary. Out of the blue, I found myself finishing everything in record time, not even failing a single module or having a sub or anything like that. God's grace, when they say if he's aligned everything for you, things just move like that. And I did my board exams, first time pass everything, and I went and I did my articles, with the AGSA. But before then, I stayed a year at university, teaching a bit of lecturing and tutoring the undergraduate students and a bit of CTA as well. And then I did my articles, and voila, I became a CA. So yes, I can't downlook the benefits, the financial benefits of it. I'm just grateful it turned out the way that it did, because it is not the most career that's going to give you all the money in the world, but it actually takes you out of poverty.
Okay.
Yeah. So
is this you encouraging a child out there who dreams of being a CA?
Yes, this is me encouraging a child. Yes, it's worth it. It is a very hectic educational journey, but then the financial benefits are there. If you come from a background like mine, where I don't know, you never even imagined life will turn out like this. It's like, wow. Now when you see the money clocking in when you get paid, it's like, that is all mine.
Not many people get to say that.
Exactly. When you come from the rural area where the situation really was hopeless, I think I'm at a position where I am grateful. It could have been worse. I am grateful that it turned out the way that it did.
Were you throwing in something that now makes me curious? I didn't know you came from a rural area.
I come from a rural area, deep rural area in Mpumalanga, from a village called Mbangwane. That is where I was born. And that is where I started my educational journey, walking to school barefoot with no school uniform. When I say the situation was hopeless, it was really hopeless. But you know what? God being God, that is why I'm super grateful for being here today. Where
well, looking at you now, that story sounds like a lie more than anything.
And we get to a point where we didn't tell the stories anymore, because everyone has told the stories of how bad it was and all that, but they are actually true.
There's a weird thing though. I had an accountant and we were talking about some mistakes that businesses make on the podcast.
Yeah.
And their background is exactly the same as yours.
Yeah.
From a village.
Yeah.
And she went right through.
Yeah.
Just like you. And it's like there's good hope for kids that are in the village.
Definitely.
I'm curious about one thing though.
Yeah.
This is popular to say the quality of education in rural areas is not the same as the quality of education in the metros.
Okay.
I want your take on that, especially looking at the fact that you grew up in the rural areas, but you're here now. Is it a myth or it's a thing?
I think for me, it's not a myth, but I was really not affected by that. I didn't see the difference when I got to university. I didn't see the disadvantage when I got to university. All that was important was just understanding English and being able to hear what the lecturers are saying. And yes, for so much as I came from a rural background, but I could speak English as well. So I don't think the repercussions were that much. And for so much as it was a rural area, I mean, the topics that were covered, metric
It's
topics
the same.
are the same. In South Africa, we have one single standard, curriculum, even though, I mean, it would be different in the manner that when you get to class, obviously the metros kind of students that come from fancy private school, they'll be speaking, asking questions with so much confidence and rolling even, and they scare you, making you feel like you don't know anything. But in actual fact, it's like, all those are the people that maybe finished after me because they repeated modules, they supped and everything, things that I didn't get exposed to with my rural background. So at the end of the day, I feel like it's a matter of if you are determined to actually pass, if you are given the books, you sit, you spend time with them, you understand what's required of you, the educational background will not really be of so much effect. I always tell people to say, even if you don't understand English, but what do you spend your spare time doing? Are you spending more time reading more books so that you can easily grasp English? If you're struggling with accounting, what do you do in your spare time? Are you watching YouTube videos that would explain the concept better to you? Those are the things that add value in your educational background or your educational journey compared to where you come from. How you empower yourself, to be at a position where you need to be to execute and finish with everything you need to do.
I like that because it puts the control purely on the
you,
student and on you. And you mentioned something about reading books and not just accounting books in your journey. Is there one or two standout books that you say this impacted my life and my mindset?
I got to a point where all I wanted to do, I wanted to understand English because, you know, when you're at a rural area, you learn English in class, but then you don't really speak English. And when you get home, it's back to Swati. So you take time. When you have to speak English, your confidence gets impaired, you know. So all I got myself to was just read. If it's a newspaper that comes across you, read it. You know, if it's a business book that comes across you, read it just for you to aim or gain whatever that you want to gain at that particular point in time. So I read a lot, and on my side, I read a lot of Christian books by your Joyce Meyers, by your Miles Monroe's. Because I had a Christian background, I was a Christian, I wanted to grow spiritually. So I spent most of my time reading Christian books, how to avoid conflicts, you know, how to clear your clutter and all that. Those are my two favorite books, Conflict Resolution and Clearing Clutter. So
Clearing
clutter.
I haven't heard of it. What is it about?
I'll send you a picture of it, but it speaks about as people, we tend to hoard. Is it hoarding or hooding?
Hoarding.
Yes, a lot of things that are not useless, like that are not useful in your life anymore. I was reminded back at home in our garage, we had like a pile of tables and old things that are like useless. You're never going to use this thing, but you just keep on piling up things there. Even in your room, you know, your wardrobe is piled up with clothes that you would never wear. Like you are size 34 now, but you still have your 28 dresses. So it was talking about clearing your clutter helps you move forward easily. It brings a sense of fresh air, even spiritually, you know, letting go of anger, letting go of things that don't serve you anymore. It puts you at ease. That's my favorite book. Yeah.
That's deep. That's deep. All right. So let's help some small business owners. We've heard your background and your profile. Impressive. Still
Thank you.
More impressive now again that I know you're coming from a rural area. I do some work there. I get to go and coach some entrepreneurs there sometimes and help others who want to get into business get started. So I've seen the context, but more adults and not in schools.
Exactly.
It's always impressive when I see people in their bed rods and everything just find a way, start businesses and make it work for their families. So I love to see that. And I do see it quite often.
That's amazing.
When I see you, though, and the picture doesn't balance to the one I'm used to.
Yeah, I don't know what to say to that. So I gained experience, obviously. I worked for a few companies, a few listed companies, audit firms and all that. And it got to a point where I am a Christian. So everything you would hear me referencing to God, where God was like, it's time to go start your own thing. And with my background as a child as well, I was raised by an entrepreneurial woman. So though she was not having a fancy big company or anything like that, but I was raised by money that comes from selling choppies and cold drinks and all that. So that mindset of doing your own business and all that, it was planted at an early age for me. Hence, I always knew that one day it would come a time where I have to go and focus on my own business and not be an employee anymore. You know, I remember I would ask my mom to say, when I finish school, I want you to come sit down and enjoy my money. Don't work anymore. She's like, no, I could never do that. I'm like, what do you mean? The place you work at is not safe, you know? It's not even healthy. I want you to stay. You've worked so hard to raise us and get us to where we are. I want you to enjoy it. She's like, no, when you start working, buy me a van. I want to scale up, you know? That's the person who raised me. So I would always look at myself when the salary is running out. It's like, yo, my mom wouldn't understand this. You know, because she doesn't understand the concept of waiting until month end to get one amount of money and you're hoping to survive with it throughout. So yeah, by God's grace, I started my accounting firm last year. It's called Comply. We are there with an aim to encourage small, medium, even large entities to comply with the finance-related laws and regulations in South Africa. So that entails accounting services where we do your day-to-day record keeping, your financial statements preparations on an annual basis. We get you audited if your company has to be audited as well. We submitted relevant tax returns for you to SARS, because as much as it's nice to do your business and it's your own baby, like no one should be concerned about that. In South Africa, if you're a business person, you're required to declare all the income that you've made and pay taxes if there are any taxes payable at that particular point in time. CIPC as well requires you to submit annual financial statements. All they're saying is that once you start making a income of over 1,000, you have the duty to prepare and submit financial statements. So it happens that most of the entrepreneurs, they're not accounting or finance people. They don't have a finance background. Some of them have never even gone to school, but they know to sell and get the money. Now, if the company is registered with the CIPC, you find that people don't submit their returns until the company gets deregistered. And even if they have the intention, they want to do that, they don't know where to start. They don't know how to go about it. So that is why we are here as Comply to say, you know what, focus on making the money. Let us handle the admin and the compliance issues for you. So we don't end with the submission of all the returns. We also help you, structure your company in a manner that you would enjoy all the tax benefits that are there for businesses, because SARS doesn't only want us to pay taxes. He also allows you certain deductions and certain incentives that you can enjoy as a business person, to bring your tax liability down. But if you don't have an accountant who can help you with these things, you end up not even knowing what is it that you're supposed to deduct, which taxes you even supposed to be paying or registering for. I was talking to a younger sister of mine who's a pharmacist. She started her own manufacturing company. So I'm like, so you must get your books in order so you can also be able to apply for funding that's available for people within that particular space you're trying to enter. There's a lot of funding, but obviously any institution that
Funding
funds
from?
you, government funding.
Okay.
To try and assist small, medium businesses to scale up, but everyone, like for example, she is still below 35, so she's youth. I was telling her about NYDA. You can apply for funding at NYDA. It will help you maybe even with working capital. If you're selling something, they can buy stock for you. They have a lot of different grants that they give, just a grant to help you and empower you as a young person. But obviously they would want financial records to show that indeed you are doing what you're saying you're doing. I will see CFA. There's a lot of funding. Even the bank, if you want to expand now, the bank would want your financial records. Can we see your financial statements? That is where the need to have an accountant, comes up. Someone once said, if you want to run a successful business, the earlier you get a good lawyer and an accountant, you are good to go. Even if SARS comes up for you 5 years down the line, I will be there. I will say, this is the monies that you earned. These are the expenses that you incurred. That is why we declared this much amount as the tax liability for the taxpayer. We are there to even go and speak on your behalf with SARS. Now we are also registered tax practitioners. We can stand up in court and present your cases for you. So it is very
You got
important.
that far?
Yes, I do.
How that is this?
I do. I've taught myself to say, if there's any certification that I need to obtain to extend, my capability in terms of helping my clients, I have to do it. So I've made
It helps that you're smart, so you'll know you'll pass the exam.
I didn't know I was smart.
You don't get where you...
I was always scared, I'm going to fail. But I think that's what also pushed me to say, you are scared to fail, then you have to do everything it takes to not fail, So I also take it upon myself to say, at least if a year goes by, there shouldn't be a year that went by and I didn't study anything. Like, I have to account to myself educationally, what did I achieve this year? So I was worried when I finished my articles to say, oh my God, 3 years has gone by. I don't have an additional certificate or anything like, that's how I started to do.
That's how you started piling the certificates.
Exactly. So I do those things. So yeah, but we do that for our clients. We do that so that we understand almost the industries that they're operating in, the laws and regulations in place, so that when we give them our services, they have a comprehensive package, not that we're only going to help them with the returns. If there's any problem beyond that, I'd find someone else.
Okay.
Yes, there are other instances where you would need, for example, a registered auditor. I am not a registered auditor yet, but because I know it's required, it's coming. And I have associates that have those particular skills to ensure that if you come to me, whatever problem that you have as an entrepreneur can be taken care of without you having to call 5 people.
What's the profile of clients that you typically work with?
I work with individuals. Individuals, they can be naughty when it comes to compliance. Or some of them are not naughty. They don't understand that even if you're an entrepreneur, the tax obligation you have is not only for the company. As an individual as well, you have tax obligation of your own. So the people you would be talking to, they'll be like, oh no, but I can't be having tax obligations because I don't charge that 15% when I sell my stuff. And I'm like, no, that's only one element of tax. That's a VAT. There's other taxes, the individual tax, the income tax, the pay as you earn if you have employees, So because of the limited knowledge, people find themselves not complying, not because they intended to, So individuals, you find that they're circulating money within themselves. Your aunt wants to buy whatsoever, you have the money coming through your account. Then 5 years later, SARS decides, let's go through this person's records. You've received so much, you owe us 20 million. And it's like, no, I didn't make 20
That wasn't
million.
mine.
That was not my money. It was just people's money circulating through my account, or was trying to create my business profile, having one money circulating through 5 different accounts that I have so that it looks like I'm making money. SARS is like, prove it. Because it meets the definition of gross income. So now you need to prove, the onus to prove that this money is not taxable is now on you. And if you didn't keep proper documentation in 2016 or when the money was busy circulating, you find yourself having to pay taxes on the monies that was not really yours.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. Now, if an entrepreneur wants to say, work with you, where would you be starting? What questions would you be asking them?
So firstly, I want your company registration. I would also check if you have submitted your annual returns to CIPC, or we're dealing with a company that's getting registered already. Because CIPC doesn't waste time. If you don't file your returns for a certain period, number of years, they just think, okay, this is not working or it's not operating, and they just deregister you. So I start there and I check if you are compliant with your CIPC. And then for onboarding on my side, I need to check if you're compliant with your taxes, because you find that someone registered the company in 2018 and they're like, I've not been operating, so I didn't have any tax issues. And it's like, no. Immediately you register the company, you have the obligation to submit the CIPC returns, you have the obligation to submit the income tax returns with SARS. Even if you're making zeros, you must just file zeros. If you're dormant, you're not yet operating, you must file to say, I'm dormant, I'm not yet operating, I'm still waiting for future projects or anything like that. So you find that already you are non-compliant. And these are entrepreneur, but they just want to, register on CSD and apply for a tender. Now, when you register there by CSD, it says non-compliant because you've not been filing your tax returns because you thought you're not making money. You don't have to know. Immediately you register, you have the obligation to file. And obviously in South Africa, we do like to do work with the government. So that would mean you have to have your taxes in order for you to be able to operate with the government. They would ask for your tax PIN. For you to get a tax PIN, you must have submitted all your returns, and then you can get a compliance tax PIN that can be used, on your tender submissions. So,
Okay.
But then the other thing that happens is that you ask the person, are you registered, for tax, and have you activated your profile with SARS? They're like, yeah. No, they're not registered. They just registered a company, and when you register a company in South Africa, automatically you get an allocation for income tax number for your company. But that doesn't mean you are registered. You still need to take that CIPC document with your ID and your proof of address, go to SARS and ask them to activate you on e-filing so that you can start submitting the returns. You can't submit the returns until your e-filing profile is up and running,
What if someone is naughty and thinks, so it means if I delay for 3 years, I'm not liable for tax?
And you are still liable for tax in line with the South African laws and regulations. I always laugh when people are like, oh no, but why do you have to pay taxes? The government, our roads are broken, we are not safe. And all that. It's like, I understand your problems, but in terms of in line with the South African laws and regulations, you have to pay your taxes. Let the government deal with the other painful issues that you're going through. The fact that the money might not be used the way that you're expecting it to be used, it still doesn't exempt you from paying tax. The fact that you are staying in a roadside where the potholes and all that are not being fixed doesn't exempt you from the tax requirement. You still have to pay your taxes. The other issues will be dealt with at a later stage,
So if I'm starting and we decide to work together, do you allow clients who come and bring, when clients come with boxes to an accountant and say, here's all my receipts and invoices for my life for the whole year?
Yeah, I like those who comes with the receipts. They understand business. Someone was saying as a business person, you can't be paying for things and leaving the receipts and then they even asking you just had a client meeting at a restaurant and you paid for it with your business money because you're having a business meeting. And then they're like, do you need the receipts? So you're like, no, we need all the supporting documents. We need all of them, all the invoices, all the receipts.
So that's the rule of thumb.
Exactly.
Even if you swipe with your business card, because it will be in the bank statement.
But it doesn't show me if it was business related or not. Remember, you could have just bought Christmas balloons with things. It's not for business purposes. So only the invoice can show that it's for business purposes. Otherwise, you could have just sent the money to me and said, company expenses. It's not enough to prove that. Remember, for the expenses to be allowed as a deduction, they must be relating to the business. Otherwise, anyone can just bring their personal, expenses and want to claim them over the company. That is why the invoice, to say you are buying cleaning equipment, we must be able to see that it is for the company as well. So most of the time, I like the ones that would come with a lot of supporting documents because at least I have something to work with. Even with SARS, when they come with an audit, they just say, oh no, you made so much money, we want taxes out of that. Without the physical invoices, I have no base to reduce the liability. So business people, if you're smart, even if you're not smart, just keep all the supporting documents. Keep all the invoices. We need them. That's our starting point. Yes, the bank statement is there, but we need the supporting invoice as well. And remember, in line with the Companies Act, you have to keep all the business-related records for 7 years.
Okay.
And in line with the Income Tax Act and the Tax Administration, you have to keep your supporting documents, all your company records, for at least 5 years after having submitted to SARS. So plus minus 7 years, just keep the supporting documents.
Okay, got you. Yeah, that's intense.
Yeah.
What about if I have employees? Because that's another question. I've got 10 employees. I pay them cash or I pay them, but they will take care of their own tax. I don't want us asking me about any tax as a business. They have to go sort themselves out.
You don't want to stress.
What advice do you have for an entrepreneur who works like that?
So
it says, I take zero deductions. I pay you what I pay you. You go sort yourself out.
Yeah.
I don't want SARS linking you to me in any way.
Yeah, no, it doesn't work like that. We work in line with the law here. The law requires that when you have employees, just one employee or more, you have to register for PAYE, right? What that does is that you are basically helping SARS collect taxes in South Africa in that way. If you pay the entire money to the employees and you say they must go pay their taxes, they'll eat them. So that is why the PAYE system was basically, brought about to say employers must be the ones that are withholding the tax and paying it over to SARS on behalf of the employees. So immediately if an employee, ask your accountant, register PAYE for me. Every month, don't pay them the gross, pay them the net amount get the calculations done properly, and submit those PAYE returns and pay over the money, because there are also employers who would withhold the money and not pay it over to SARS. That's illegal. You can go to jail for that. If you withhold, you pay people net, and then you don't pay over the money to SARS, you don't even submit the returns. It's completely illegal. The directors of that particular companies can go to jail.
Do you know what the penalties?
It depends. There's Section 234 of the Tax Administration Act, which looks, did you do this because you didn't know, was it negligence? Or there's 235 that says, were you intentionally trying to evade tax? That is 5 years, up to 5 years of imprisonment, fine, or up to 5 years. 234, which says maybe it was negligence or you didn't know anything.
5 years for carrying the tax.
Exactly. That is like a fine or up to 2 years of imprisonment. And there is also the understatement penalties, where if you were supposed to file your PAYE end of the month, like it's normally due on the 7th of each and every month, but if the 7th falls on a Saturday or Sunday, you have to pay on the last Friday before the 7th, right? So if it happens you didn't pay it and you forgot for some reason to release the money, immediately it incurs a penalty of 10%, and interest start kicking in on a daily basis that you didn't pay the money. So now if it is a case where you didn't pay PAYE for so many number of years, there's something called an understatement penalty that SARS charges. They also assess, did you do this by mistake or did you do this intentionally? You thought you were smart. If you thought you were smart and you're trying to run away from tax, it can go up to 200% of what the liability is. So for example, say the tax that you're supposed to pay is like 10 million. They can just throw in 200% penalty there, and you find yourself owing 30 million. And then within the
They can do that.
They can do that. The Tax Administration Act allows them to do that. And you have to pay the 30 million, not the 10 anymore.
You guys are classic examples of this. You can run, you can't hide.
You can't. That's why I'm like, as an entrepreneur, just get yourself an accountant. Do and submit your taxes as soon as you can. It's easier and better that way, remember? Because if I am looking through your books on a monthly basis, I can tell, okay, the expenses this month are more than the income. Okay, for the entire year, let's do the financial statements. These are the costs that you've incurred. These are the income that you've made. And you find that at the end of the day, you don't have any tax to pay. You find that your company is making losses and you're not going to be liable to pay anything at that point in time. But if you don't submit the returns and SARS finds out in their own ways, because they've got auditors, they've got lifestyle auditors for individuals. If you're posting a lot on the media, you will find SARS coming for you. And you won't be having the supporting documents because there's no accountant or anyone holding you accountable to say, keep the supporting documents so that we can file the correct numbers. By then, you don't even know where the money was coming from. You don't even know, or even if you know that I used it to pay for consultant, I was paying for expenses, you don't have the supporting documents. There's nothing we can do. Don't be smart with it. They are extras. Remember, they can even go to the bank, get your bank statement without your approval. When they have to find out how much taxes you're owing them, they will come to you with your bank statement already to you. They won't be asking them from you. They'll be having them in their hands, So it's always important to declare, submit the taxes. Find an accountant that understands the tax laws and regulations. Let them deduct all the allowable expenses, and then you reduce the tax liability. In that way, you submit correct figures and you're good to go.
It's something you said. I was saying I'm stuck on it.
Yeah.
That my Instagram can get me in trouble with SARS.
It's not that it can get you in trouble. They part of their duties is to check if people or everyone is paying their taxes, because everyone has to pay their taxes.
Because if they're going to do lifestyle audits, that's one easy place to start.
Exactly.
And that's where a lot of people
So they're not getting you in trouble. They're just checking if you have your finances in order, So before you even go and paste your cars and your mentions, make sure that...
I hope you remember this.
Exactly. Before you go post and flash everything. Because now SARS wonder, but that Lamborghini is like, okay, how much did the person make? How much did they declare as income to us? Where did they even get the money to buy that? That's not the most of their concern, but then what they looking for is that did you comply with all the tax
So it
laws and
basically
regulations?
get your house in order while you're doing these things.
Get your house in order and then flash your stuff nicely,
I've
knowing exactly SARS is sorted.
I have an issue with one thing you said though.
Mm-hmm.
And not because it's not true, not because it's not right. It's true and it's right and correct. And it's that get yourself a good accountant and all of that stuff that you said.
Yeah.
And my bone to pick with that one is, how do we know with the good and the bad? Because we have a lot of stories of accountants that take this entrepreneur's financial statements, change names, give you, and because you're not as literate, you're not going to check. It will have your name, it will have your ID number, and you just sign and you submit. There's a lot of that going on. So how do we tell you guys apart to say this is a good one, this is a bad one?
Yeah, so normally get someone who has a profession and something that they care about. For example, I'm a CA. I can't afford to go to jail. I can't afford for anyone to come and say I falsified. I can't afford to falsify any financial information because that would mean I'd lose my profession. Without my profession, oh my God, I'm back to the rural areas. No. So get yourself a reputable company. And also when you get a practitioner, a tax practitioner, someone who's going to be dealing with your books and your taxes, ask for them to give you their tax practitioner number. And you can verify it within e-filing if it is indeed valid, if indeed this person is not a bogus accountant, if they are real, We have our own duty to ensure that whatever that you do for the client, you do it in a correct manner. We have our duty to ensure that whatever that you share with me, your finances, I can't just disclose it to anyone. I can't just go home and be like, oh my God, Dando, you should have seen how his bank account. No, you have duties for confidentiality. You have a duty to ensure that everything you do it with professionalism and due diligence as well. So we are obligated to certain organizations. I'm obligated to SAICA. I'm obligated to the South African Institute of Tax as well. If I mess up with your numbers, I can go to jail. I can have my professional accolades revoked from me. So I can't afford that. But the most important thing that you do, because some of the accountants are good and they're not CAs, but when someone is going to be dealing with your taxes for you, ask for their tax practitioner number. If they say they are a CA, you can even go to SAICA's website and verify a CA. Ask for their CSA membership number. Verify if indeed they are, registered with the organization that they're claiming to be registered with. So yeah.
Okay, it's getting those. What questions can I ask though to tell them apart as well beyond the compliance checks?
What questions can you ask the accountant?
Yeah, just in a casual conversation to tell if this is a good person to work with or not.
Also, you must test the integrity, hey? So normally clients would come be like someone contacted me, almost every day you get these funny people. Hey, I'm owing about so much to SARS. Can you make it disappear? How can I make it disappear? It's an obligation. It's a law. You are required to pay the money. And I'm like, why don't you want to pay? It's like, why should I pay SARS? I'm like, oh no, I don't deal like that. I don't deal with people that make me want to, that require me to do funny things in their books. Oh no, the VAT is a lot. Just find a way to reduce. How am I going to reduce it? You've earned the money. Someone paid you your invoice with 15% on it, and you have a duty to pay the money over to SARS or use it to pay an invoice that has VAT on it. When you say I must make it small, how am I supposed to do that? You've received the money. Remember, VAT is not yours. VAT is money that you are collecting on behalf of SARS. SARS says, get the money, charge the 15% extra on your invoice, and hand it over to us when it's time for you to submit your returns. If you do, however, incur invoices for expenses that have VAT on it, use some of that 15% to cover the 15% to the next person. So the 15%, you have to pay it over to SARS or pay an invoice that has VAT on it. So when you say I must make it small, how am I going to make it small? That's illegal as well. I can't do that. And also it's illegal to you as the director, because for so much as I am your tax practitioner, I'm submitting the numbers over to SARS for you. It is also your duty to know what goes into your numbers. You can't say, oh no, I had a practitioner, she was submitting on my behalf, I don't know what she was doing there. No. In terms of the TAA, you still have the obligation to know if the numbers that are being submitted on behalf of your company are correct or not. You are still the one with the responsibility to ensure accuracy of the numbers that are going there. So listen to the advice as well that the tax practitioner or the accountant is giving you. If they will start telling you things, oh no, but you can put in fictitious invoices to reduce the VAT liability. If SARS comes and they audit you, because they audit you, people will be like, no, let's process invoices and you can get refunds. Out of the refunds that you are getting, I'm going to get 10% out of it. You will get the refunds. But 3 years down the line, SARS will come and be like, by the way, can we please have the supporting documents for all the refunds you were claiming? And you'll go to jail. You go to jail.
There's a lot of you go to jail in your...
You go to jail and you will pay the penalties over and above that. It is in line with the law. Fine or imprisonment. Yeah. And I've been dealing with a lot of such cases lately.
Okay.
So I'm busy having to quote the section numbers of the Tax Administration Act. Like, it is what it is. And unfortunately, like,
no wonder you remember them by number.
I have to, because people are acting smart. And guys, yes, it can serve you for a while if it does serve you. I mean, a lot of people will be like, oh no, I have my accountant. No, she does well for me. I get refunds every year. And then when now you are auditing, you are looking at where were these refunds? It shows that the person sold their house. You never sold any house, but it's a very stressful process now when you are in it. It sounds nice when you are getting these refunds that you are getting fictitiously and all that. But you know what? I'd rather not have any refunds and have my business continuing to run and have peace and be at home with my family, not be in jail or now being liable to pay 200% understatement penalties.
All right.
Yeah.
That's a beautiful thing. I think one of the things that we've really touched on is compliance with CIPC if your business is registered in South Africa, compliance with SARS, the tax authority.
Yeah.
I think we'll cap this episode off with labor compliance because SARS is not the only place you submit.
Exactly.
There's labor.
Yeah.
Talk to us a bit about that.
So there are certain returns that people must submit with the Department of Labor, the COIDA as well. Unfortunately, my company doesn't deal with anything relating to the Department of Labor. I only deal finance and accounting related kind of compliances. But also, if you have a good HR manager or you have there are entities that are responsible for dealing with the returns relating to the Department of Labor, those ones as well, you can knock in there. If you don't know what you are supposed to submit within your particular company, inquire with the companies. If you have like the accountant, if I'm your accountant, I'll find out who can help you with any returns that you're supposed to submit in other organizations outside the ones that we're dealing with, and also the registrations as well. Also, the other nice part is that even though people don't have the patience to call, if there's anything you're not clear with, call the Department of Labor. Ask them, I am new in this business thing. I don't know if I'm supposed to be submitting a return. I had someone speaking about this, or I had this particular organization asking me for my COIDA registration. I don't know how it works. They will definitely help you. You can even pop through in their offices. They will help you as long as you stay compliant and as long as you want to comply, with your applicable laws and regulations. People and those responsible organizations are always willing to assist accordingly.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think thank you for that.
Yeah.
To conclude, one thing I will say is we Harriet, as you've noticed, I know a couple of accountants, but we're going to be answering quite a number of your questions. So if you've got questions in your business, experiences, when it comes to accounting, bookkeeping, inventory, whatever, as long as it touches numbers, let us know in the comments. Just pop in the questions that you have. We are going to have a series of a lot of these sessions. and you are going to learn. It will be hosted in the platform, so you can always go back if you've forgotten and refer. We're going to keep the series of the lessons nice and short so that they're easy to consume. It's not going to be all the finance and accounting episodes.
Yeah.
We're going to trim them and keep them short so that you can always come back and refer. But Harriet, there's a question. Oh, you did answer your favorite book.
Oh, yes, it was Clearing Clutter.
Maybe let's keep it light as we wrap off this
Yeah.
thing. Who inspires you the most in your life?
Wow.
And why?
Who inspires me the most? I would still stand and say it's my late mom. She's late. She passed on when I was doing my first year of university.
Mm-hmm.
That woman was a single mother to the three of us, and she never had any assistance from anyone. But in the midst of her having us while she's still doing matric, she never sat down and said, the father of my kids have left me. Oh my God, cry and roll herself to sleep with that particular problem. She fought. She was sick, she was not sick, she fought. She would wake up every day, go buy her sweets, her cold drinks, her chappies, and go sell. You know, the place that she was working, there was no house to sleep or anything like that, but she would just stay there, sell. There's no single day that we've ever slept without food. But where was she? On the road, selling those sweets and those cold drinks. So instead of looking at, it's one cold drink, I'm going to make only 2 rands profit. Like, how is that going to get me to buy food or anything like that? My problems are a lot. She waited. She fought every day. She woke up without fail, went and sold whatever that she needed to sell to make provision for her kids. She didn't wait for anyone. She didn't wait for a job. In fact, she didn't even want a job.
Grants.
She didn't even get grants or anything like that. She fought her way through this thing. So my passion is in that to say, we have a lot of young people. Problem in South Africa, unemployment is so huge, but we are all sitting down crying for the government and we want grants, we want this and that. You can do more, without those grants. Just find something that you can be able to sell. Someone was saying, I'm not a salesperson, it's not within me. I had to learn to be a salesperson. After having qualified as a CA, I sold Tupperware, I sold Avon stuff because I wanted to get out of this comfort zone that says, I can't sell. It's not something you get born with. You just realize that for you to have money, you need to be able to tell people what you do for them to buy from you. So I really needed to learn the skill. And you know what? You just tell people I am selling this. If they buy, they bought. If they didn't, someone else is going to buy. It is better than sitting waiting for government or waiting for a job that might or might not even come. Some people even get to a point where they get to have depression because of waiting and the job is not coming. But there is something you can do. Just stand up, look around you. Other people can't even go to the salon. They do their own hair. Stand up, tell someone you do the hair. I'm all for standing up, looking next to you, taking an opportunity for anything at all that is next to you to change your life and the lives of the person next to you.
So if we were in a room, you'll be hearing quite a bit of this because it's just been that good. Thank you for coming. Thank you for hanging with us till this time. And like I promised, there's going to be a series of these type of lessons. We're going to get technical. We're going to talk about your pricing, your costing, and all these things in nice short lessons that are easy for you to remember. We want to give you the ultimate hookup in the channel. So from my side, see you in the next episode.
Thank you.